Well, I'm Bob Dent. I'm the 2018 AONE president, and welcome here to this session. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's Nursing Thought Leader session with our 2018 Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, Dr. Linda Everett. And so let's...
Thank you.
So she's very popular, but I think her shoes may be even more popular.
My son actually picked these shoes out because he wanted to get out of the shoe store. Okay, blame him.
So these thought leader sessions allow us the opportunity to hear from colleagues who have contributed a great wealth of knowledge to nursing leadership. This session will begin with an interview of Linda, during which we will be videotaping the session. All that you've given to the nursing profession from there. Well, today's session, as Linda and I had an opportunity to talk, is about courage as an essential element of leadership. So Winston Churchill said courage is the most important of all virtues because it's the one that makes all other virtues possible. And then C.S. Lewis took that one step further by saying that courage is all of the other virtues at the point where they're tested. It's easy to have integrity when there is no temptation, and it's easy to be brave when there is no danger, but it takes courage to live one's values. So Linda, as a nurse leader, how do you define or what is courage?
Well, for me, and I will quote another figure, Ernest Hemingway said that courage is grace under pressure. And you all know, most of you know, or you will soon know, that I am of Irish descent. And so grace is not one of my strong suits on a good day. But what I do have is a lot of passion. And I believe that passion is the core ingredient of courage. To have the passion to stand up for what you believe, to hold your values strong in face of adversity, and to be prepared to face the consequences, the good consequences and the bad consequences. That's what courage means to me. And I don't see myself as a physically courageous person. I mean, I couldn't, I've never been in the military. I've not been a police officer. I've not done anything that takes really physical courage, but I did witness physical courage from my father when I was about 6 years old. And we were on the way to school, and my passion was coming through that day, and I was a little bit unhappy with him. And I was marching ahead of him down the street in Columbus, Ohio, where I grew up in German Village. And all of a sudden, I heard him screaming, and I turned around, and a house was on fire. And he was carrying my brother on his shoulders, and he sat my brother down, and he ran into the house. And I thought, what's the matter with you? That house is on fire. But he goes in, and he pulled 2 children out of that house. And one of them survived, and one of them didn't. And he was burned somewhat, not badly. But I saw that, and I thought, that really took guts. And he looked at me, and he said, it was the right thing to do. And you would do the same thing. You would go in to save a life. And he never spoke about that again. Now, this was a man who was a survivor of a POW camp. And he never really talked about that either. But I realized then that was courage. And although, again, I've never really demonstrated physical courage, I don't think. But I think what I possess, and many of you do, probably all of you do as nurse leaders, is moral courage. And moral courage, again, is standing by your beliefs, by principles and values by which you live, and making decisions that you believe are right for the right reasons. And not to be paralyzed by fear of what might happen if you stand up for those beliefs.
So how do you develop that courage then?
You know, I think it's a behavior. I think it's like any behavior. It's like a muscle group that you want to develop in the gym. Not that I do that, but, you know, for those of you who do. It's repetitive. It's repetitive. And maybe you start out with small acts of courage, or small times or events when you stand up for what you believe. You might be in the minority. Maybe you're the voice in the crowd that is a lone voice, but it takes courage to do that, and there's a fear factor there, so you have to be able to overcome that fear. Courage does not always roar in. It can be that little voice in the back of your head when you've had a bad day and you go home and you say, I'm going to try again tomorrow. I'm going to try to do this again tomorrow. That takes courage to go back and keep trying and trying. It's resilience. So that's how I think you develop it. It's a learned behavior that you have to develop over time, like any muscle group, like training a dog. I have a puppy at home. Oh, please, let's not go there. Training that. There you go.